Now we move on to our next queens. So, Riddhi Agrawal, are you here?
Yes,
And just a request to all the contestants who are speaking. Before, when I call out your name, just, raise your hands. It makes it much easy for all of us. Yes, hi Riddhi, how are you?
hi, I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. So, yes, all, the floor is all yours.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm Riddhi Agarwal, a Miss Teen Diva 2022 contestant. And today I'm going to talk about how fast fashion impacts the environment. So, we are all aware about what fast fashion is. It is a term signifying clothing quickly manufactured at a low cost, meeting temporary trends. Nearly 3 in 5 fast fashion garments end up in landfills until they decompose. Non-sustainable manufacturing processes also lead to illegal wastewater dumping and microplastic pollution. One significant fast fashion environmental impact is water exploitation. Overusing freshwater resources for fast fashion manufacturing minimizes the global supply of safe drinking water. Another fast fashion environmental impact derives from synthetic fiber use. Companies attempt to cut costs, creating clothes from threads of plastic. When consumers throw their fast fashion garments in the washing machine, microplastics degrade into the wastewater. As machines drain excess water, synthetic fibers travels into the environment. To prevent these effects, you can enhance the eco-consciousness of your closet by thrifting of clothes instead of buying them new. Additionally, consumers may repair worn out or defective garments, extending their lifespan and limiting landfill waste. Finally, you may reduce the influence of modern trends on your purchases, maintaining a versatile wardrobe. Thank you.
Thank you, Riddhi. And a very relevant topic that you have spoken about. Even at the beginning of session, we were talking about fast fashion because as pageant goals, we'll be requiring a lot of outfits. We have a lot of photo shoots, and what we have that power of being able to, create a trend. So I think it's about time that we create a trend of using your outfits as much as you can to its max possibility. And yes, I think we can. That is a wonderful speech given by you.
Thank you.
So next we'll move on to Devyanka. Devyanka, are you over here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Alright, can you please raise your? Okay, yes. Hi, Devyanka.
Hi,
Stage
how
all
are you?
yours. I'm
Thank
wonderful.
you. Hello, everyone. I'm Divyanka Singh. So, right before I simply jump on to introducing my topic for today with all of you, I would like to wish each and everyone a very, very happy World Environment Day. I truly hope we all learn something valuable with the help of this very thoughtful event. And that being said, I would further like to shed some light upon the topic medical waste pollution and how it affects our environment in a variety of ways. So, medical pollution or medical waste pollution refers to any kind of pollution that is caused due to the inappropriate disposal of medical waste. Now, what is medical waste? So, it is any kind of waste that is produced in large quantities by healthcare centers such as hospitals, nursing homes, dental clinics, and etc. It is considered to be of a biohazardous nature, which typically means any substance containing infectious agents such as blood, body parts, body fluids, and etc., that are deemed to cause harm not only to the public health but also to the environment. The chemicals that are present in this biomedical waste may affect the air, water, or land, which in turn may cause life-threatening problems to the residents living in that area. India, for instance, produces as much as 500 tons of biomedical waste every single day. Now, in a country which is home to almost as many as 140 crore individuals, it becomes extremely important to ensure the proper disposal of this biomedical waste for the insurance of the well being of all of its citizens. Now, with the currently ongoing pandemic, not just India, but all the countries across the globe have experienced an unanticipated rise in the biomedical waste production levels in their respective nations. And while it can often seem like issues such as biomedical waste are not something that we as common individuals should be concerned or bothered about, there is still plenty of stuff that we can do on our part. Lastly, I would just like to conclude by reminding everyone that a really small yet significant step that we can take on our part is to educate the individuals around us on how important it is to not just dispose of biomedical waste properly, but just any other waste in general too. Let us always remember that there is only one earth and together we can protect it. So act now. Thank you so much.
Well spoken, Devyanka. And yes, especially since we are still ravaged by the COVID-19 pandemic, and medical waste is something that is at an all-time high, it is about
Right,
time that we focus on the proper disposal of it. Because we have
right.
already burdened the environment too much and we cannot afford any more burden onto it. We will just move on to our next video. So, ma'am, could you please?
Sri Lankan traditional dance is a mirror that reflects the Sri Lankan culture. The main costume of the Kandyan dance troupe, which was started by the King Malaya, is a West Anduma. Only men wear this costume and women wear paingpat. Now, Rangani Saditma, a student of Asian Grammar School, will be presenting the traditional Kandyan dance wearing the paingpat. She will be accompanied by the student Lithira Buanaka playing the gattabere, an instrument of the Kandyan dance tradition.
cultural exchange will forever be my favorite, as one of my favorite aspects of such events, despite the obvious exchange of ideas and just hearing the perspective of people from from so many walks of life. So without further ado, we'll move on to our next contestant, Meher Kumar. Meher, are you over here?
How many of them are left?
I think over just a minute, sir. I think 10 of them are left at the moment.
Okay.
So yes, of course, the man who is the reason why all of this is possible. So Nikhil sir, he does not need any introduction.
Yes, so we'll quickly move on to the next contestant without giving any attention to me.
So you're spotlighted. It's very difficult to not pay attention.
Okay, thank you.
Meher? And I think Meher is also facing a lot of problems.
Udita is here. We may go
Right.
to her, maybe.
Yeah. Yes. The floor is all yours.
Woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. Let's make the difference and not go in the slumber of ignorance before it's too late to regret on the grounding ill health of our Mother Earth. The global efforts for ecosystem restoration helps to address triple planetary crisis, that is, climate, pollution, and biodiversity loss. The pace at which humans is striving for development is achieving new steps every day. But the cost human has to pay or compensate for overlooking, neglecting, and exploiting the environment is beyond any mind. It is well acclaimed truth that we have not inherited the earth from our ancestors. Rather, we have borrowed it from our future generations. When we try hard and spend major part of our youthful years in earning money and saving it for our children, then why do we forget when we are not leaving clean air and environment for them? Our individual efforts are not going to make any difference. Rather, whole humanity has to convert to save the Mother Earth and its environment. Every year we have Earth Summit, Global Summit, to address the problem of ozone, layer depletion, pollution, and global warming, etc. The activists show their concern and initiate to inculcate the feeling of awareness and belongingness among the people. But soon, the enthusiasm starts depleting when the concern comes to a reality check. So, this is the time that we should make the earth regain its clean environment. And we should make it caretaker and nurture it to make it a place worth of living. Let's join hands. Let's join hands to give back its beauty. Think not it's a burden, but your duty. Slow your pace, instill your grace. There will no turning point to mend your ways. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Udita. And that was a very lovely poem that you quoted before starting on with your speech. So the next contestant we have is Sejal Gupta. Sejal, are you over here?
Yeah,
I'm so sorry, I can't see you. Can someone please pin her? Yes, thank you.
Hi. So yeah, I'll start. Namaste and good evening, everyone. I'm Sejal Gupta, a contestant of Miss Teen Diva 2022, and today I'm going to be sharing my thoughts on saving water and the importance of water. My topic for today is water, the only source of life. So, what is water? Does anyone wants to answer?
Feel
H2O.
free. Feel free to just unmute
Two
yourself and
molecules
answer.
of hydrogen, one molecule of oxygen. At
Yeah.
104.8 degree bond. Covalent.
Okay, so water is odorless, tasteless, colorless, and inorganic substance, which is the main constituent of the Earth's hydrosphere and the fuels of all living organisms. It is necessary for all forms of life. Earth is covered with more than 70% of water, in which ocean consumes 96.5% of water currently, whereas only 2.5% of water is drinkable. The rest 1% is found in glaciers, soils, etc. Does anyone know how much water we waste every day? 125 million liters of water in total is wasted daily by each and every person. Now, what is water pollution? Water pollution is the contamination of water sources by substances which make the water unusable for drinking, cooking, or any usage purpose. Water pollution is caused due to various human activities like bathing in open rivers, washing clothes, or dumping waste into the water. Unwanted and unnecessary use of water can lead to famine, droughts, and various other problems. Fresh water these days is very limited, and the need to save it is very important. We only depend on small percentage of water. So it is our responsibility not to pollute and sorry. So it's our responsibility not to pollute it. Each of us must know how to save water. I, Sejal Gupta, has proudly taken a step forward to save water and also told my family and friends to do so. Saving water is not the duty of any single individual, but of the whole nation. So let's save water together and make the world a better place. Save water, save life. Thank you.
Wonderful. And I think it is amazing that you're taking such steps to save something which is so essential. And I think we move on to the next girl. Karima, are you over here?
Yes, ma'am, I'm
Uh,
here.
yes. Please don't refer to me as ma'am. It makes me feel a little
Yes,
special.
You can call her Shivani. She was also a team contestant.
Exactly. Just
I'm
call
gonna
me
take
Shivangi or
Shivangi
Shivangi
Ji.
Didi. Shivangi Didi, it's fine. Just please, no
Shivangi
ma'am.
Ji. Okay.
Yes, I can't. Yes.
Am I visible?
Yes, yes.
Okay. I shall begin.
Yes, yes, please. The floor is all yours.
Thank you so much. Our world is not ruled by those who think similarly, but by those who dare to think differently. A very warm namaste to everybody present here. Firstly, I would like to take this opportunity to introduce myself. My name is Karima Khan, and I'm currently contesting from Miss Teen Diva 2022. I believe it is a great honor to be present at such a prestigious platform that is giving us, the youth, an opportunity to represent ourselves and raise our voices against relevant issues in the world today. The topic that I have chosen to address today is the significance of the FAO and sustainable development in environmental law. As we all know, our world is becoming increasingly complex. The challenges that we face as a generation are the greatest that any generation must, and the stakes are truly higher than we have ever been. Our world is a world of nuclear giants and ethical infants. We know more about war than we know about peace. We know more about killing than we know about living. I have been an active participant and a delegate of the FAO and the Model United Nations conferences held in my school. I ask this question to all of you. Please feel free to answer. Does anybody know what FAO stands for?
Food and Agricultural Organization.
Yes. And you want to elaborate on what work they do? Or shall I go ahead?
Go ahead. You'll do it better.
Okay. The FAO is a specialized agency of the United Nations. It basically brings together world efforts to defeat world hunger and to improve food security. Let me put it in a much easier way. If there is no food in agriculture, there is no human life. Being a part of a committee that works towards building a safe link between sustainability and food and agriculture, I have realized that sustainable development is key. When we talk about agriculture, we are not just talking about crops, but we are also talking about livestock, fisheries, aquaculture, forestry, and major of these depend on natural resources. The Food and Agricultural Organization not only works towards increasing the production, but also enhancement and protection of our natural resources. I believe an issue that I see in my local community today is the absence of ways to promote sustainability. We are still using the same orthodox methods, and I believe that they need to be replaced at the earliest by more modern approaches. For example, we can take drip irrigation systems, usage of renewable sources of energy, elimination of tillage, and many more ways. Um, I believe what we can do as future world leaders and climate activists is to raise our voice. Finding solutions to such complex world issues cannot be done by treading the beaten path. We have to dare to ask bold questions and raise our voice against these issues. Only then will we be able to find solutions. We have to think along divergent lines and propose solutions that are unique and cater to our local needs. The respective government ministries need to come together and align their policies to be globally sensitive. To conclude, I would like to say that we all must perform acts of kindness towards our environment. No matter how big or small the act is, it matters. We have to transform sustainable development from mere wishful thinking and slogan mongering into a reality. It's time we act now. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Karima. And seeing how 80% of our country is engaged in agriculture, and we still happen to have a food shortage in this country, which is highly surprising. So very relevant. Most of us are associated with agriculture probably in some way. So thank you so much for raising awareness for this. Now the next contestant is someone that everyone says that looks like me. Rather, I look like her. So, please let me know. Please message me and let me know if you see it or you don't. So, Soumya, are you over here?
Yeah, I am.
Right. So, can someone please pin her? I'm unable to see her. Soumya, can you just raise your hand because I'm actually not able. Yes, I'll just. Yes. So, yes, Soumya, the floor is all yours.
Good evening, everyone, and I'm really glad to be a part of this. Today, I'll throw some light on the topic responsible disposal of electronic waste, so kindly lend me your ear. We are developing each day, that too at a very fast pace. We need the latest technology in our hands, either as a need, as a better social standing, or just as a fashion statement. But as we continue to use and dispose of this technology in devices such as our mobile phones, we are increasing the amount of e-waste produced. So basically, what is e-waste produced of? As the name suggests, electronic waste includes appliances that run on electricity and have the potential to damage the environment. It contains metals, plastics, and glass that are used in the making of an appliance. Some common examples are washing machines, hair dryers, saws and drills, toys, and so on. These helpful devices turn to waste when their worth and quality decay over time and are no longer opt for use. And often, even if the worth is not completely diminished, a style shift compels us to come to terms with these devices. Now, we get how this waste is produced, but why and how can we reduce it? An ordinary way to dispose of waste is to burn it, but burning leads to emission of harmful gases and hydrocarbons that pollute the air heavily. E-waste also affects the soil and water bodies with its toxic residues. The waste generation surely needs to be reduced, but the waste that does find its way needs to be disposed of properly. Commonly, landfills and burners are used to discard this waste. Another useful way is reuse, refuse, and recycle that we all know as the 3 Rs. We need to use our devices to their full potential, refuse to buy new ones, and put them up to recycle when suitable. Recycling gives them a new life, a new purpose to serve, and all that without generating waste. Because our earth cannot have a second chance, let's give these devices one. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Soumya. And everyone, please sit with a cup of coffee because we have 6 more of our team contestants there. But before that, there's another video that the organization would like to share with you. It's a video by our very own Miss Teen Earth India, Rabia Hora. And I just request the technical team to play the video.
Unthoughtful actions of mankind have badly bruised our planet. The climate emergency, the loss of nature, and deadly pollution threaten to destroy our homes and eliminate many of the millions of species that share this beautiful planet with us. Our lives, our peace, our well-being is threatened like never before. Unfortunately, despite lofty plans and promises, the governments world over failed to meet a single target to stem the destruction of wildlife and life-sustaining ecosystems in the last decade. Nature is declining globally at rates unprecedented in human history, and the rate of species extinction is accelerating with grave impacts on people around the world. However, us human beings are all about grit and hope. This degradation and our ultimate destruction is not inevitable. We have the power and the knowledge to reverse the harm and restore the earth if we act now. Join us on the 4th and 5th June in Only One Earth Act Now, the world's largest and longest online environment event, 24 hours non-stop, and help us step up global efforts for ecosystem restoration and to help address triple planetary crisis of climate, pollution, and biodiversity loss. There is only one Earth. Together, we can protect it. Act now.
Is our Miss Teen Earth India, the reigning Miss Teen Earth India, Rabia Hora, who will soon be competing at Miss Teen Earth. And yes, I really hope that she'll be really making our country proud. And yes, I think she is going to build a legacy that is now the responsibility of 2022 batch to pass on and carry it forward. Now, without further ado, let's move on to our next contestant, Khushpreet.
Hi, Shivangi.
Yes, Khushpreet, can you please just raise your hand or someone can just pin her? All right, yes. Right, I can see you. It's all yours. Floor is all yours.
Namaste everyone. I'm Khushpreet Kaur, one of the contestants of Miss Teen Diva 2022. Hope you all are fine. But our earth is not fine anymore. Our environment, that is nothing less than a battery of our lives, seems to be in danger. I would say extreme danger. If you would ask yourself for the cause of it, I promise the answer will be the truest possible, but our hunger for comfort wouldn't let it come out. And what is the truest possible answer? Yes, it is us, human beings. Environment degradation is a gigantic topic within itself that can take decades if you will discuss about it. So here I am with a small piece of it. Deforestation, a commonly used word in geography which means clearing forest for creating things we use in our daily life. Some are needs and some are just a part of the luxury. Actually, most of it is a part of the luxury. Why do we exploit forest for easy life without thinking what it can cause after few years? Forest, the source of literally everything, is degrading now. It is being spoiled, affecting the future source of living. It is like snatching the source of future generation and using it for our own greed. Well, this is a problem we are discussing since long ago, but taking no action for it. So let me tell you what can be the consequences. Soil erosion, climate change, floods, wildlife extinction, ocean acidification, and many more. Isn't this enough for us to realize what will be the future of Earth if we will not reduce our greed for comfort?
Even an ordinary human being can change a lot. It doesn't take much to plant a tree, refusing to waste paper, switching to recycle things and non-wooden furnitures, and many more things. I believe if everyone will start thinking this way, for sure, there will be more possibilities to save our earth, our environment. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that lovely speech, Khushpreet. So now we shall move on to our next teen queen, Vaishnavi Krishna. Vaishnavi Krishna, are you
Yes,
here?
ma'am, I'm here.
Yes.
Okay. So, namaste. Good evening, everyone. I am Vaishnavi Krishna, Miss Teen Diva 2022. And happy Environment's Day, everyone. I truly believe this initiative is going to instill in us a lot more commitment to our Mother Nature and our Mother Earth. So today, I'm here to talk about plastic management and how can we convert it into a human asset. So imagine there's a truck entering the ocean every minute of every hour of every day, and countless birds and animals are dying just from encountering plastic. We are experiencing the fastest rate of extinction ever, and plastic is in the food chain. If you were to walk into a kitchen, sink overflowing, water spilling all over the floor, you had to think fast. You're going to panic. You've got a bucket, a mop, or a plunger. What would you do first? Why don't we turn off the tap first? Why aren't we doing the same for the ocean? Even if the ocean cleanup project or beach plastic recycling programs or well-meaning institutions plastic company was 100% successful, it would still be too little too late. And if you live in the grips of poverty concerned always about food or shelter or a sense of security, recycling is beyond your realm of imagination. And that is exactly why there's a need of creating a plastic bank in every city, chain of stores where everything in the store is available to be purchased using plastic garbage. Social plastic is money, a globally recognizable and tradable currency that when used elevates poverty and cleans the environment. At the same time, it's not just plastic, it's not just recycled plastic, it's a tradable currency that can transfer, you know that can convert a lot of lives into a good one. And humans have produced over 8 trillion kilograms of plastic worth roughly 50 cents a kilo. We are potentially unleashing a $4 trillion value. I see social plastic as the Bitcoin for Earth and available for everyone, where the entire ecosystem could be managed and supported through an online banking platform that provides for the safe and authentic transfer of value globally. You can now deposit your recyclables and a family could withdraw suffering from the bad. A process where gamified recycling could add fun and formality into the informal industry, adding staffs, partners around different countries in every corner of the world, collecting hundreds and hundreds of tons of material every day is a result of a program alone will put hundreds of millions of dollars into the hands of the poor. We can all be a part of the solution and not the pollution. And so, okay, maybe cleaning the ocean is futile, but preventing ocean plastic could be humanity's richest opportunity. And so there is only one Earth. We need to act now. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Vaishnavi. And that is a very good point that you brought out, since we were talking about why environment, so many problems like unemployment, wars. Why should nature be saving Mother Earth should be our first concern. And I think this is the very reason, because this would provide a lot of jobs and a lot of, employment and a better standard of living for people. So we move on to our next contestant now. Kavi, I really hope I'm pronouncing your name right.
It's Carvin.
Kavin, yes. I'm so sorry. You're correcting me for a lot of times. So yes, Kavin, the floor is all yours.
Okay. Hello and namaste to everyone. I'm Carvin Rao, a Miss Teen Diva contestant 2022. And today I'll be talking about environmental justice. environmental justice really reflects the fundamental reality, the vulnerable communities, and all often to the subject the unequal burden of pollution and contamination. At the end of the day, when we are talking about environmental impacts at the heart of our real people lives, and if you think about one child in her home that maybe might lead that maybe laid paint on the walls and she's drinking water from the tap that might have lead contamination in it. She plays in a playground that has arsenic in the soil and can lead to asthma and developing asthma since she goes to the school that has mold inside. These little happens on daily basis simply uproot themselves from a community where they live for decades, where their families raise them, where their children, people do not have financial mobility necessary to simply get up and go. How do we all combat environmental injustice? These are the little things like litigation that mean continue fighting in the court, continue fighting for the strengthen the existing legislation in force. The thing like community organization, public education, mobilizing the base and raising your voice for the right. There are also things like using media as an outlet to get your point across today and ages. Especially with this administration, I think there are a number of amount of hurdles in how to address environmental injustice. But the reality is that we have to keep fighting for no. Great gains do not occur overnight. They take some decades. I truly believe that environmental justice, modern day civil rights issue of our time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kavin. And before we move on to the next contestant, one of our contestants, Karima Khan, has a very special video to share with us. If anyone can give Karima the rights to share. All right. this is a very important thing that she has done, as you can see in the video.
A
That
lot of my
sometimes
co-contestants were talking about waste disposal and plastic pollution. And I think that is what I'm trying to do through my project that is called Need. It's called Hope. So I'm trying to educate the younger generations to clean up and to help our environment at the earliest, because it's always protect and prevent rather than repent and repair. So on that note, over to you, Shivangiri. Thank you so much.
that's a wonderful video. And as you can see, sometimes you just have to act on it, act on whatever your solutions are, even if you just want to pick up the garbage at the beach or anything. And someone will see your actions and they'll do the same. Like I said, your micro efforts will have a macro effect at a global level. So sometimes it just takes a spark to start a wildfire, not literal wildfires. Please don't take it literally. Anyways, jokes apart, we'll move on to our next contestant, Khushi Gupta. Khushi, are you over here? Yes, let me just find you in the crowd. Okay, great.
Okay. Namaste. Climate change. Now you might be thinking, I have heard about this term somewhere. Isn't it a term that we all are too familiar with? And those who aren't, let me help you brief about this. Greetings from India. I am Khushi Gupta, one of the contestants of the esteemed Miss Teen Diva. Climate change refers to a long-term shift in temperature and weather patterns. These shifts may be natural, but since the 1800s, human activities are the major cause of it. Today, I'm here to discuss some of the major causes of climate change, specifically on oceans like ocean heat, sea surface temperature, sea level, coastal flooding, and ocean acidity. For a natural resource covering 70% of Earth, we're not paying enough respect to it. Increasing greenhouse gas concentrations are trapping more energy from the sun. Since 1955, oceans have absorbed more than 90% of the Earth's extra heat. When the sunlight reaches ocean surface, they absorb this heat, and eventually this heat spreads to deeper water. Water's tendency is to absorb heat with only a slight increase in temperature. One example of this is coral bleaching. Temperature rises of as little as 2 degrees Fahrenheit can cause coral to dry out algae. Other reasons like pollution or excess sunlight also affect them. Increased heat absorption also changes ocean currents, as many currents are driven by differences in temperature, causing differences in density. These currents influence climate patterns and sustain ecosystems that depend on certain temperature ranges. As the temperature of Earth rises, water's tendency to expand on heating causes rise in sea level. Melting of ice sheets and glaciers also contribute to it. Changes in the sea surface temperature alters marine ecosystems in several ways. For example, varying ocean temperature can affect aquatic species by altering their migration and breeding patterns. Changes in reef habitat and nutrient supply also dramatically alters and results in decline of ocean ecosystems. Ocean plays an important role in regulating amount of carbon dioxide in atmosphere. Rising atmospheric concentration of it causes ocean to absorb more of it. This dissolved carbon dioxide reacts with seawater to form carbonic acid, resulting in increase of ocean acidity, which changes the balance of minerals in water, making it difficult for some aquatic organisms to produce a mineral, which is the main ingredient in their hard skeleton or shells. Declining pH makes it difficult for these animals to thrive, leading to broader changes in coastal ecosystem. Some of the corrective measures that can be taken for some above-mentioned problems include marine spatial planning, which extends help to marine protected areas, including carbon storing habitat and restoring native species that sequester carbon, reduction in burning of fossil fuels by pooling cars, or walking for short distances. Use of renewable energy sources should be implemented. Almost 80 to 90% of ocean is yet to be explored. Nature's biological library is burning even before we catalog the titles of all the books stocked there. Oceans are getting sicker. Let us join our hands and do something quicker. Thank you.
Thank you, Khushi. And oceanic plankton especially is responsible for 50 to 80% of oxygen that we breathe in. So it is extremely important that we maintain the marine ecosystem and preferably not disturb the planktons and the kind of habitat they are used to. Now, before we move on to the next contestant, we have a message from the inspiring young lady that we had an interaction with at the beginning of the session, Zoya Afros. And despite being so busy, she has come here and interacted with us and also sent a video message. So technical team, could you please play Zoya's message?
Unthoughtful actions of mankind have badly bruised our planet. The climate emergency, the loss of nature, and deadly pollution threaten to destroy our homes and eliminate many of the millions of species that share this beautiful planet with us. Our lives, our peace, our well-being is threatened like never before. This degradation and our ultimate destruction is not inevitable. We have the power and the knowledge to reverse the harm and restore the earth if we act now. So join us on the 4th and 5th of June in Only One Earth Act Now, the world's largest and longest environment online event, 24 hours non-stop, and help us step up global efforts for ecosystem restoration and to help address triple planetary crisis of climate, pollution, and biodiversity loss. There is only one Earth. Together, we can protect it. So act now.
So yes, that was Zoya Afroz, who will be representing India in Miss International on 30th December. So please continue to support her, and hopefully we will get our first Miss International crown. So moving on to our next contestant from the teen batch, we have Titas. Is she over here? Am I pronouncing your name right? Okay, she seems to be facing. Titas, are you here?
Hi.
Hi.
Can I get back to you?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, please take your time.
Thank you.
So, all right, not a problem. While she is dealing with technical issues, sadly, we will move on to the last, but certainly not the least, Sana Yadav. Sana, are you over?
Hi. Yes. Yes. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, you're perfectly audible.
Namaste. A very happy World Environment Day to all of us and to our very beautiful Mother Earth. My name is Sana Yadav, and I have been working on a project named Asha Ki Kiran, a ray of hope, which spreads awareness about utilization of solar power. Solar power is conversion of renewable energy from sunlight into electricity. This is something we all know, but do we know it is pollution-free and causes no greenhouse gases to be emitted after installation? Do we know it makes us less dependent on foreign oil and fossil fuels? Do we know that it is a form of clean renewable energy that is available to us every day of the year? And the most important, do we know that it is the cheapest form of energy in the world? Being a girl who is born and raised in areas related to agriculture, I have always thought of a sustainable way. My project concentrates on spreading awareness in rural areas by stretching to sustainable and clean form of resources. Government schemes such as Kusum Yojana can be a boon in rural areas, providing farmers with advanced technology. Solar pumps have double benefits as it helps farmers in irrigation and also helps to generate safe energy. Also, farmers can directly sell the extra power to the government, which would benefit them with the extra income. On the other hand, the electricity produced by these power plants will reduce the pollution level in the farms, which will help us to solve few of the environmental crises. Though it's few, it's a step, and a journey starts with a single step. Nature has provided us with so many gifts, such as air, water, land, sunlight, forests, minerals, animals, which make our earth a place worth living. And thus, it is important to save these resources in order to retain our environment. With the help of knowledge, technology, and team I'm trying my best to save our environment. We all can, together, stronger than ever. We have only one Earth, and it's time we act now. Save nature, save world. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sana, for shedding light on the solar energy resources. And for, we have India as a country has so many projects when it comes to renewable resources. For example, we have One World, One Sun, where India helped provide a lot of solar energy to a lot of African countries. So
Yes.
thank you so much, Sana, for shedding light on it. Now moving on to Titas. Are you here?
Yes, I'm here.
All right, great, Titas. So I'm so glad you were able to resolve the technical issues.
Yeah,
So,
thank you for considering.
so yes, please start with your speech.
So let me introduce myself first. I am one of the panelists of Miss Teen Diva, Hitash Bhattacharya. So today I'm going to speak on the topic, the importance of reusing paper. So very often we do not take a first step towards a good cause because somehow we convince ourselves that the task is so big and nothing can be done alone. And by the end, nothing gets done. There is much talk about environment protection, pollution, and saving our forest. If afforestation seems to be a tougher process, at least we can reuse the paper available in our homes by not throwing those, and it's good to adopt a two-use attitude. By putting an article to a second use, we are giving it a longer lease of life and are using less raw material, and which results in using less green lives. So Mother Earth is all what we have in common, and these problems that we are facing today is interconnected. So I believe that it's the perfect time when none of us are late. So if we start now, and if we if we give it a try to change our thoughts into actions, then Mother Earth and the future generation is gonna be protected by us in a proper way, and that's it.
All right, all right. Then thank you so much, Titas. And that concludes our batch of Miss Teen Diva 2022. So Miss Teen Diva 2022 will be happening later this year. And we again will get to see so many wonderful ladies out there trying to compete for the crown, the titles that will represent India. And I really hope, I'm super excited to it. So all the best to all of you ladies. And I know our audience has kept a lot of patience listening to everyone sharing so many views, so many amazing things. But we still have a few videos in store. So please stay tight. Please stay tight, stay over here, stay awake. And one of the videos is a little bit long, but I can assure you that it will be worth every second. All right. Thank you so much. And I now request the technical team to please play the video.
ये क्या हो रहा है ग्रीन प्लांट
Hello, everyone. I truly wish I could be there in person, but I look forward to future opportunities to meet and discover solutions for the issues that we all deeply care about. Climate change is the issue that we all must be profoundly alarmed by. For the past 3 years, I've been on a remarkable journey making the documentary film Before the Flood to show how this crisis is changing the natural balance of our planet and threatening our future on it. I've been to cities like Beijing that have been choked by industrial pollution. I've seen ancient boreal forests in Canada that have been clear-cut, and rainforests in Indonesia that have been incinerated for natural resource development. In India, I met farmers whose crops have literally been washed away by historic flooding. In America, I've witnessed unprecedented droughts in California and sea level rise flooding the streets of Miami. In Greenland and in the Arctic, I was astonished to see that ancient glaciers are rapidly disappearing well ahead of scientific predictions. I also heard from the best scientists at NASA and some of the top researchers at our great universities, and there's absolutely no doubt amongst these experts, indeed no doubt among more than 99% of the world's top scientists who study this issue, that climate change and the environmental crisis we have witnessed are a direct result of human activity. These top scientists also warn us that the impacts will become exponentially worse in the not-so-distant future. 15 of the 16 hottest years ever recorded on Earth have occurred since the year 2000. These facts and the predictions for the future they reveal mean the world of the future may not look much like the one we enjoy today. In addition to rising sea levels, there will be millions more climate refugees fleeing starvation. There will be flooding, there will be droughts, and conflicts over shrinking resources. Natural forest wildfires that once burned a few months a year during the summer will soon rage all year long. And storms like Hurricane Sandy or Katrina, which should happen only once in 100 years, will now happen more often and cause even more damage. But there is also reason for hope. Renewable energy, clean fuels, and putting a price on carbon are beginning to turn the tide. But we must scale up these solutions and get them in the hands of everyone everywhere right now. Because this transition is not only the right thing for our environment, it makes clear economic sense. Ladies and gentlemen, 99% of all plant and animal life ever to exist on planet Earth has appeared and disappeared before the arrival of industrial humans. The Earth doesn't care if we are here. We're not trying to save the Earth. We're trying to save our quality of life, indeed for many, our very survival on this planet. We have waited too long to take action to address climate change, but if we band together, we can build the future we want. Winston Churchill said, "History will be kind to me, for I intend to write it." Starting right here and now, let's write the next chapter together. I'm going to leave the rest up to the head of my foundation, the brilliant Mr. Tamanen, who single-handedly created some of the most important environmental policies in the state of California. Considering it's one of the largest economies in the world, Terry is an expert in integrating green technology with economic progress. I want to thank you all so very much for your time and for your commitments to protect our fragile planet. Thank you so much.
बच्चा है, बच्चा आने लगे।
ना तो बच्चों का तो सीजन है, अभी तो आने शुरू होंगे। अभी क्या डेट हुई है आज? 5। कभी तो छोटे बच्चे भी कितना आ गए हमारे पास, 5-6 तो आ ही गए अब तो इंडस्ट्री में। इसे तो वैसे कुछ नहीं सी लग रही है।
ठीक है,
वीडियो में थोड़ा
वो तो हो जाएगा दीपक।
छोड़िए
इसमें है ना,
एक मिनट छोड़, खड़ा हो रहा है ठीक से।
टांगे तो पकड़ लगी हैं।
जब हम पहली चील घर लाए, मैं देर रात जागकर उसे घूरता था। खूंखार रेप्टाइल लगती थी किसी और प्लेनेट से। चीलों को गोश्त खिलाने से सबब मिलता है, वो आपकी दिक्कतें खा जाती हैं और उनकी भूख आबाद है। हमारे बड़े हमें चील फरश्ती के लिए ले जाया करते थे। हम जमीन पर लेटे आसमान में उनके डिजाइन देखा करते थे। सर घूमता था, लगता था आसमान में गिर जाएंगे।
For like 100 years of the conservation movement, we really focused on sort of just putting lines around certain protected areas, but it's not enough. What we've learned is that that's just not how ecosystems work. Ecological systems are too big and too complex to just draw lines in parts of them and expect that to work. The elephant's a really great symbol of that. Kenya, the population recovery is a success story, but at the same time, it's more than about just saving certain iconic species. You've got to come up with a way for humans' needs in these communities to be reconciled. You know, if the industries that are created off of natural resources don't bring a better economic future for communities than choices that degrade the land, it's over. It's done. It doesn't matter how many parks we create. We have to recognize that the economic systems that support us rely on healthy ecosystems.
Every year throughout my life, I've been up in the Norwegian mountains. My father was born in one of the valleys close to the city of Lillehammer, which once hosted the Olympics. And my family had a small hut there, until very recently no electricity, very primitive from the modern standards of life. But it was a great way of having summer holidays, winter holidays, Easter holidays. You can name all the holidays, we always went there. We did primitive fishing, we were following the cows through the landscapes, and we had all our favorite cow. We were looking for moose, and if we were very lucky we could see a moose. And there was an enormous opportunity for great outdoor sports, bicycling or moving up, watching the mountains. So that has, through my life, been my way of connecting to nature, and it has given me immense pleasure. We are asking you to tell your stories about how you connect to nature, your favorite places, your photos, and today at World Environment Day, not just sit indoor and share stories, get out there into the nature yourself and with your family. This plant is absolutely fantastic. I mean, you have all different varieties. We have the deserts of Africa, the Sahara, the rainforest, the greenery of Brazil, of the Amazon. We have the mountains of the Himalayas. There is any number of variety. All of you had your particular favorite place. Today we are in Toronto, Canada, a green city, less polluted city, but also placed in the landscapes, the enormous prairie of Canada, which is also so beautiful, and with the Niagara Falls, one of the most fantastic waterfalls on planet Earth. We need to protect this planet, then we need to engage. Many of us are now city dwellers. We need to connect to nature. World Environment Day is about how we as humans can experience nature, you and me, but obviously it's also about politics, how we can take better care of Mother Earth. We need more protected areas, areas where whales at sea or lions or tigers at land can live and thrive. We need a more intelligent coexistence between humans and nature, between humans and wildlife. This week the new railroad through Kenya from Mombasa to Nairobi was opened, and there is a good number of bypasses where elephants and other wildlife can pass the railroad. Again, that's intelligent coexistence. And we need, in a time where more than 50% of us are living in cities, we need much greener cities, green cities like right here in Toronto, where I'm standing now, but cities with public transport, where you build out forests in cities, and where you have green buildings where there are flowers and trees in the buildings. All this is possible if we just do it. We are living at a time where there is enormous opportunities to go green. Let's just grab them. Let's make the slogan made by President Macron of France this week our own. Let's make the planet great again. Happy World Environment Day.
Sometimes when humanity chokes itself and dies, to the sky I fly to see the emerald smokes of dust and the uncanny kinds of mist, to feel the autumn spring air breezing through my hair and hear the silent secrets shy spoken by the koel chirping high. Sometimes when humanity chokes itself and dies, to the ocean water my soul cries, and the cyan sea then holds me in its arms, like a mother to my qualm it calms. And the water slush carry me to my ecstasy, and it whispers to its seashore which echoes with that song of glory. Sometimes when humanity chokes itself and dies, in the grasslands far afar, that's where the history lies. And I lay down on the lush green ground, and the grass that tickles me sews up my wound. And then it rains to free the world of its tears, and comes the petrichor, the nostalgia of the years. The earth carrying humanity in its womb, and the divine eternal in its sacred tomb. O Mother Earth, pristine and pure, for her children she knows the cure. But they all tell me all the time how this is so not a happy rhyme, and how humanity chokes everything around. The earth, the air, the waters, the world on fire surround. How it's all dying, the universe is falling apart, how our mother has been shot by her own children in her heart. The climate's changing, the water's drying, the forests are burning, and humanity is dying. And we do it for the future, the same future that we're ending. Just pause for a while and think, what to our children are we sending? And then curate the medicine, the change that saves the day.
And do remember that a small step is the start to a new, better way. We have a global cause to stand up for together. Let's join hands and make our present and future better. Let's act now because there is only one Earth, one Mother Earth.
There have always been destructive elements at work to harm and degrade our environment. But Mother Nature is strong enough to prevent these attempts and recover itself. But in recent times, unthoughtful actions of mankind has impacted climate change like never before. Natural disasters are becoming more and more frequent, more intense with more terrible humanitarian consequences. This degradation and our ultimate destruction is not inevitable. We have the power and the knowledge to reverse the harm and restore the earth, only if we act now. Join us on 4th and 5th of June in Only One Earth Act Now, the world's largest and the longest environmental online event. 24 hours, non-stop. Help us step up global efforts for ecosystem restoration and to help address triple planetary crisis for climate pollution and biodiversity loss. There is only one Earth. Together, we can protect it. Act now.
More than 4.5 billion years ago, the Milky Way galaxy collided with a nearby dwarf galaxy. This encounter hastened the formation of stars. Our solar system is a part of the Milky Way galaxy. Within the solar system, material circulation had been progressing. The water component from the outer region evaporated to make materials dry. Through this process, particles were zonally distributed depending on their water content. The bipolar flow stopped, and with it material circulation. Some regions around the Sun with high particle density appeared. Within these regions, collisions frequently occurred. Small particles gradually grew to become planetesimals. Planetesimals continued colliding with smaller particles and other planetesimals, eventually growing to planets such as the Earth. A number of planets were moving in the same orbit. The early Earth collided with a smaller, Mars-sized planet. Debris from this impact eventually came to form our moon. The Earth-Moon system, as we know it today, was in place. Countless planetesimals and icy planets bombarded the early dry Earth. Due to the bombarding water-enriched planetesimals, the Earth became enveloped by an ocean atmosphere system. Water vapor in the atmosphere produced rain, forming an ocean. The atmospheric pressure gradually decreased. The carbon dioxide-rich atmosphere transitioned into a CO2 ocean covering the water ocean. Carbon dioxide also combined with rock components and was transported to the bottom of the ocean through weathering and erosion. At this time, the ocean was still toxic with a high salinity and an overabundance of metals. It was too toxic to support life. Upwelling mantle displaced the oceanic plates above. Uplift of the plate by mantle convection caused horizontal slippage due to the weight of the plate. This is plate tectonics in action. The oceanic plate subducted under the lighter continental plate. Weathered sediments neutralized the ultra-acidic ocean. Heavy metals settled out and became fixed as deposits at the mid-ocean ridge. These deposits were transported through plate tectonics into the deep mantle. Gradually, the ocean became a habitable environment. By 4.2 billion years ago, a liquid core formed in the center of the Earth. Convection within the liquid core created a strong magnetic field surrounding the Earth. This geomagnetic field shields the Earth's surface from cosmic rays. The Earth's surface was nearing readiness for life. The early Earth, when the atmosphere prevented sunlight from reaching the surface. Primitive life was about to emerge underground, in the cave of a geyser. Uranium ore emitted large amounts of radiation, creating a diverse range of materials, and eventually producing the early building blocks of life. Water boiled and rose up to the surface, and the surface water flowed back down into the natural nuclear reactor. The temperature of the geyser water remained below 100 degrees, protecting the newly formed biomolecules. The underground environment was reductive, while the surface environment oxidizing. These conditions were necessary to synthesize biomolecules. In the Earth's Hadean eon, tidal forces were much more pronounced than they are today. Even lakes had significant ebb and flow of water, creating wet and dry cycles. These wet and dry cycles were one of the most crucial factors in producing the building blocks of life. fatty acids came together, encasing the proto-life molecules. Polymerization progressed under the wet and dry cycles. Eventually, protein-like basic materials that could act as catalysts were produced. These molecules circulated between the geyser cave and the surface environment. The interactions of these materials led to more complex biomolecules. Proto-RNA combined with enzyme-like basic materials and evolved into ribozymes, which had the ability to replicate themselves. This laid the groundwork for life to reproduce. Finally, these molecules were enclosed within lipid membranes, forming primitive protocellular life. This was the beginning of life. The Earth's plate tectonics, which had begun with the creation of its ocean, eventually destroyed its primordial continent and subsumed it to the deep mantle. By 4 billion years ago, the mother continent had disappeared, leaving life on the margins of a fragmented landmass. Inside the Earth, a dramatic change was about to begin. The subducted primordial continent descended toward the core mantle boundary. The wealth of radioactive elements in the primordial continent caused the uppermost part of the core to melt. By 4.2 billion years ago, the newly created liquid outer core was strengthening the Earth's magnetic field, protecting the surface environment against solar winds and cosmic rays. As a result, life could exist on the surface environment. The supply of energy and nutrients through material circulation is necessary for life. The essential mechanism to maintain life is an endless flow of electrons. The first proto-life couldn't survive very far from the nuclear geyser due to insufficient energy. Mutations, however, allowed life to evolve. The more resilient life forms were able to adapt and survive in harsh environments. This second stage of proto-life evolved to make use of the sunlight available on the Earth's surface. They developed a metabolism that converted light energy into electrochemical energy. Moreover, they used sugars to store energy for the sunless night hours. The source of energy for life on Earth shifted from nuclear geysers to the sun. Around 4.1 billion years ago, the ocean was still extremely toxic, killing off most of the proto-life forms within it. Nevertheless, some proto-life forms survived the extreme environment. They developed protective mechanisms to prevent the metallic ions in the ocean water from entering their protocells. This proto-life began coalescing into larger and more complex forms. Modern life forms use only 20 kinds of amino acids. This means our ancestors that used the same amino acids were the ones that survived the mass extinction. Evolution walks a perilous tightrope between continuing and ending. Unstable RNA evolved through ionizing radiation into more durable DNA, making it possible to reliably pass information across generations. And the third stage of proto-life was born. This was the beginning of prokaryotic organisms, the ancestors of today's archaea and bacteria. Oxygen, when unbound to any other material, can be toxic to life because oxygen destroys the reductive life body. Therefore, the first photosynthetic organisms would have been anaerobic microbes, which produced no oxygen. Life, however, adapted, taking advantage of oxygen. As a valuable source of additional energy. This development resulted in the appearance of cyanobacteria. Cyanobacteria produced oxygen, which crystallized into felsic iron-bearing oxide, reducing the iron content of the ocean. Still, the ocean was 5 times as saline as it is today. As the Earth's interior cooled, old slabs of the primordial crust, resting at the bottom of the upper mantle, fell into the lower mantle. Meanwhile, numerous mantle plumes ascended from the lower mantle into the upper mantle. This phenomenon is known as mantle overturn. Mantle plumes pushed the basaltic crust upward, generating landmass. This created shallow marine environments penetrated by sunlight, which allowed the cyanobacteria to flourish. The oxygen produced by the cyanobacteria gradually altered the Earth's atmosphere. On the ocean floor, ferric and ferrous iron were accumulating in the form of hematite and magnetite, creating a massive banded iron formation. By 2.5 billion years ago, the remaining banded iron formation was a few kilometers thick. This rapid decrease in iron content changed the color of the ocean to a familiar blue. Life began to change the surface environment. Such is the coevolution of the Earth and its inhabitants. This was an important step in life on Earth's long journey toward civilization. A collision between the Milky Way and a nearby dwarf galaxy produced countless glowing stars. Within a few thousand years, some of these stars ended in supernova explosions. A myriad of cosmic rays from the supernova deteriorated the sun's heliosphere and bombarded the Earth. These cosmic rays helped generate cloud condensation nuclei, which produced more and more clouds until the Earth was completely blanketed with them. The thick cloud cover prevented sunlight from reaching the surface of the Earth. The Earth underwent a global glaciation event known as the Snowball Earth. This caused another global mass extinction. But once again, some life survived yet another difficult period beneath the ice sheet. Tiny life was protected by the Earth's massive circulating system. And the Earth is similarly held in place by the solar system and the expansive universe. Life is but one part of an enormous system. The prokaryotes survived the Snowball Earth, evolving into more complex life, such as endosymbiotic systems living together inside cells. They formed mitochondria and chloroplasts, which allowed them to get more energy from oxygen. A single prokaryote body could contain thousands of mitochondria. A nuclear membrane formed, protecting DNA from the oxygen-dense ocean water. DNA strands grew longer, retaining ever more genetic information. Life evolved into more diverse and complex organisms. At long last, the eukaryotes appeared. The eukaryotes grew 1,000,000 times larger than the prokaryotes. In theory, everything inevitably falls into disorder. And yet, life is orderly and increasingly complex. Life seems to continue evolving, undeterred by universal entropy. Plate tectonics caused small, developing continents to assemble into a single supercontinent called Nuna. As Nuna formed, its burgeoning landmass provided cyanobacteria with an expanding habitat in its lakes, rivers, wetlands, and estuaries. Cyanobacteria produces free oxygen through photosynthesis. At that time, however, most of the free oxygen produced was consumed in decomposing dead cyanobacteria, so very little free oxygen accumulated in the atmosphere. On land, however, dead cyanobacteria got buried under sediments. So oxygen that would have broken down their bodies instead ended up in the atmosphere. The presence of a large landmass helped increase the amount of oxygen in the atmosphere. As the total land area on the surface of the Earth increased, so too did atmospheric oxygen levels, dramatically. Over time, the Nuna supercontinent broke up into smaller continents. But once again, plate tectonics reassembled a supercontinent, this one called Rodinia in Equator region. Slabs of oceanic plates subducted under continental plates gradually accumulated in the mantle transition zone. Eventually, these slabs fell down into the core. The slabs cooled the outer core, changing the flow of electricity within. As a result, the core's dipole magnetic field transformed into a weaker quadrupole magnetic field. The Milky Way galaxy collided with a dwarf galaxy and underwent a transition into starburst conditions. Over time, these newly produced stars ended in supernova explosions, bombarding the Earth with cosmic rays. The Earth, with its weak quadrupole magnetic field, was heavily affected. Clouds covered the entire Earth, and ice covered its surface. A series of supernova explosions occurred. Long periods of extreme heat were punctuated by shorter periods of extreme cold. In the extremely cold periods, oxygen in the atmosphere fell to Archean eon levels, causing mass extinctions. These mass extinctions, however, created great opportunities for life to evolve into something completely new. Repeated influxes of cosmic rays and drastic fluctuations in oxygen levels. These environmental changes caused genetic mutations that accelerated the appearance of new species. The starburst period ended, and the Earth's core reverted to a stronger dipole magnetic field. Ongoing photosynthesis returned the oxygen in the atmosphere to previous levels. Meanwhile, the inner Earth was gradually cooling down. When the inner Earth is hot enough, the components of water trapped in minerals in the oceanic plates are released to the surface environment, and the seawater level is unaffected. However, once the mantle temperature drops below 650 degrees Celsius, minerals carry these water components down into the upper mantle. Meanwhile, on the surface, deprived of the components of water, sea levels gradually decrease. This is known as the leaking Earth phenomenon, which is inevitable on a cooling planet. This leaking effect moved 3% of all seawater into the deeper mantle. Sea level dropped by 600 meters. As a result, surface land areas grew, as did continental shelf areas receiving sunlight. A habitat for future life on Earth was being created. Rivers carried nutrients from the inlands down to the continental shelves. And the additional landmass significantly accelerated the buildup of oxygen in the atmosphere. These processes set the stage for an explosive evolution of life forms. Extreme climate changes continued, putting life on a path to new evolutional stages for survival. Life evolved with prokaryotes and eukaryotes living together as ever larger symbiotic organisms, compensating for each other's shortcomings and thriving as a whole. This greatly expanded the possibilities for forms of life. Life forms grew to 1 million times the size of eukaryotes and 1 trillion times the size of prokaryotes. The appearance of multicellular life was a critical leap for evolution. Another glaciation period came, and life suffered a mass extinction. With time, this glaciation also passed, and the global climate gradually warmed. Phosphorus and other materials essential for life circulated through the climate system and accumulated in the oceans. The animals of the Ediacaran period appeared at this time. Dickinsonia are iconic among the Ediacaran fauna. Some grew to over 1 meter in length. They were soft-bodied creatures with no shell or skeleton. They probably lived in warm, shallow marine environments around the Rodinia supercontinent. The supply of nutrients from the land was ever increasing, as was atmospheric oxygen. The amount of ferrous iron in the oceans increased. The ferrous iron oxidized, once again creating large bands of iron. Phosphorus and calcium levels in the ocean increased. Life evolved to use these elements, becoming animals with bones and shells. For example, the calcium helped protect Microdictyon from other animals. Their bodies used calcium to form a covering of hard scales. Life evolves to survive, making use of the elements in its environment. and the Earth's environment alters the shapes of life. The Earth entered another period of climactic instability. The Earth alternated between periods of extreme heat and extreme cold for tens of millions of years. These severe changes killed off the Ediacaran fauna. Nevertheless, new species were about to appear. Radiation from inside the Earth plays a significant role in the evolution of life. A continental rift is a place where a continent breaks open to expose erupting magma and radioactive elements. Radiation hastens the creation of new species and new branches in the tree of life. This is stem evolution, creating new species at continental rifts. Life evolved separately on each small continent. When small continents recombined, their life forms crossbred. Different crossbreedings created new forms of life. Variation thrived. This is crown evolution. Continental collisions created more diverse surface environments. Bays and gulfs on large continents were especially well supplied with nutrients from upstream. Making use of these nutrients, Cambrian-era life forms diversified much more quickly. The Cambrian explosion created some 35 new phyla. These phyla became the foundation for the types of plants and animals we see today. There are three main ways that life evolved. Mass extinctions that eradicated many species. Stem evolution that hastened genetic mutations when continents broke apart. And crown evolution that hastened biodiversification when continents collided. So, the evolution of life is inextricably linked to environmental changes due to universal factors and continents assembling together and breaking apart. The ocean was more than 5 times as saline as it is today. 600 million years ago, the ocean gradually became less salty. Salt from seawater was relocated to the land in the form of rock salt. Decreasing sea levels made this possible through more exposed land. Even if seawater rose again high enough to reclaim the rock salt, most of it had become inaccessible, encased in sediments. The decrease in seawater salinity made the ocean more hospitable to diverse life forms. Estuaries and open seas welcomed new life. With increasing atmospheric oxygen levels, an ozone layer formed in the Earth's upper atmosphere. The ozone layer absorbs ultraviolet radiation from the sun. The land was becoming a more habitable environment. Algae was the first life form to transition out of the water onto the challenging land environment. This is why algae evolved before animals did. When insects appeared, they co-evolved together with plants. Appearing during the Cambrian explosion, fish were the first of the vertebrates, animals with backbones. Fish are the oldest vertebrate ancestors of us humans. As fish continued to evolve, Ichthyostega appeared, the ancestor of amphibians. Plants flourished, producing free oxygen through photosynthesis, providing the atmosphere with 1.5 times as much oxygen as it has today. Long after, the remains of these plants would become sedimentary coal. That coal would help fuel the remarkable breakthroughs for human civilization that started with the Industrial Revolution. Next, vertebrates equipped with lungs appeared and made their way onto land. The tree of life evolved, branching from fish to amphibians to reptiles and then dinosaurs and mammals, and eventually to humans. This guy hasn't found out about all that just yet. The solar system collided with a dark nebula. As the solar system passed through the nebula, the Earth was bombarded with cosmic rays. The Earth entered yet another frozen age. Plants were affected first, dramatically reducing the oxygen they supplied to the atmosphere. The surface environment reverted to an anaerobic state, like during the Archean period. The lack of oxygen killed off most species of amphibians, reptiles, and insects. Life managed to continue evolving, but faced another big challenge. Untouched by the evolutionary changes on the Earth's surface, anaerobic microorganisms had been thriving in oxygen-poor underground environments. The new oxygen-poor surface environment allowed them to re-emerge on land and in oceans. Their native habitat expanded across the globe. As oxygen levels rose again, these microorganisms evolved to adapt to the new environmental conditions, setting the stage for another phase of evolution. The emergence of new creatures that would evolve into humans was close at hand. On the supercontinent Pangaea, mammals and reptiles appeared and started evolving under a warm climate. While reptiles diversified into many varieties, mammals remained nocturnal, rat-sized animals, The mammals were in the shadows. With the appearance of dinosaurs, reptiles entered a golden age. Dinosaurs prevailed against many other animal species and won the struggle for survival. High radiation magma is produced when a continent is split apart, and this is where stem evolution occurs due to induced mutation. Dinosaurs were at the pinnacle of their ecosystems. The pieces of northern Pangaea that had split later rejoined. This caused crown evolution. Amalgamation of continents brings the hybridization of life, and new species spread out to other continents. Dinosaurs flourished all over the world. In the plant world, angiosperms with advanced reproductive capacities appeared. Angiosperms utilize animals to help with pollination and thus flourished. On the other hand, the habitat of gymnosperms was reduced. Primates, the ancestors of humans, appeared at the rift of the Gondwana supercontinent. Via stem evolution, new species appeared among the rodents, such as rats. With time, Gondwana split into South America and Africa. After South America was isolated, the primates there evolved into the New World monkeys. On the African continent, the primates evolved into the Old World monkeys. After the Indian subcontinent split off from Antarctica, primates on this continent evolved into the lorises. Primates evolved independently on each continent. And in this way, many species of primate appeared. A large-scale Pacific superplume pushed the Pacific plate up and raised the sea level. Lowlands fell below sea level, and the total land area decreased. Rising sea levels segmented the continent, providing isolated environments for individualized morphological evolution. A universe-scale event had changed Earth's surface environment. The solar system collided with a dark nebula. The Earth was entirely covered by clouds. Global cooling progressed, catastrophically damaging ecosystems. Finally, a meteorite 10 kilometers across fell on the Yucatan Peninsula. This event was the final trigger to cause the mass extinction of dinosaurs. The fate of the Earth's life is deeply connected to the events in the universe. Universe-scale events can cause global cooling and mass extinctions. Moreover, galactic cosmic rays directly affect the DNA that carries the blueprints of life. Cosmic rays cause mutations which promote evolution. All aspects of life on the Earth are thus influenced by universe-scale events. Finally, the dinosaurs that had flourished went extinct. Along the African Rift Valley, explosive volcanic activity continued, and peculiar magma containing abundant radioactive elements erupted. Old World monkeys, a new clade of primates, appeared there. They are thought to be our remote ancestors. About 4.5 billion years have passed since the birth of the Earth. Large fluctuations in terrestrial environments have occurred repeatedly, a never-ending cycle of life and death. Finally, human beings appeared. This was the onset of the Humanozoic Eon. Humans have a unique set of genetic regions called Human Accelerated Regions, or HARs, and these regions differentiate humans from other animals. Humans developed enlarged brains that enabled them to gain language capabilities. They also gained the abilities to think, to be conscious, to remember, and to imagine. The brain volume of human beings has discontinuously increased in 3 stages. The growth of brain volume seems to be synchronized with large-scale volcanic eruptions. This indicates that the increase in brain volume is caused by stem evolution, driven by high R magma. About 1,200,000 years ago, humans started moving out of the African continent. The last common female ancestor who left the African continent 200,000 years ago is called mitochondrial Eve. Descendants of mitochondrial Eve entered North America and Central America 15,000 years ago. 10,000 years ago, further descendants reached the southern tip of South America. They had spread all over the world. Since then, an epochal advance of human civilization has taken place. Humans invented agriculture and livestock production. With these methods, a stable food supply became possible. Human populations increased rapidly. Various occupational specializations arose. People began to barter and trade. To enable effective bartering, cities formed. With time, small cities developed into small city states, with currencies, economies, laws, courts, and police. Finally, the four great civilizations of the world appeared along large rivers, where food productivity is higher than in other regions. Conflicts and fighting over territory occurred between civilizations. To avoid fighting, religions spread to replace governance by royal families entrenched through inheritance. With time, national leaders came to be elected by voters. Modern democratic nations appeared. Democracy is a social form that grants freedom, equality, and basic human rights. The Industrial Revolution began in Great Britain after the Principia by Isaac Newton was published. New technologies, established or applied based on scientific knowledge, dramatically changed human society. The invention of the steam locomotive enabled transportation of goods by railway. The invention of cars and airplanes enabled us to travel long distances easily. Human society entered the age of never-before-seen abundance. However, war occurred incessantly. Sometimes, irreversible tragedy was caused by the misapplication of scientific knowledge. The information revolution arose following the invention of computers. It enabled human beings to explore the universe, as was symbolized by the Apollo program. And the invention of the internet led to a new era in which people across the world can connect with each other in an instant. Out of contrition over past wars, the birth of a unified world nation is coming to be realized. In 1993, the EU was formed as a unified state in Europe, where wars had recurred most frequently. In other areas, similar federations have been emerging, bringing us closer to the birth of a unified world nation. Within the scope of Earth's history, the Humanozoic era is very short. However, it is humans' entire history, unfolding within the context of the Earth's history. Biologically, human beings are just one species of animal. However, we are essentially different from other animals because of our evolved brains. What else lies ahead for human beings? Human activities have been dependent on fossil fuel. Fossil fuel was produced and accumulated through Earth's history over billions of years. We are now using up these fuels at a furious pace. The amount of fossil fuel remaining is expected to decrease sharply after 2020. It was once assumed that fossil fuel would run out by 2100. However, due to the shale gas revolution, this depletion will be delayed 100 years. Progress in medical technology and the intake of nutritious meals has caused explosive population growth. As a result, serious food shortages will occur around 2020, These will mark the beginning of the era of 3 billion refugees. However, the world's population is expected to decrease to 5 billion by 2100, after peaking at 10 billion in 2050. Until 2050, the increasing population will continue to cause serious environmental contamination. Numerous global challenges will amplify the anxiety within human societies. What does the future of human beings hold? In the field of science, innovative technologies will be developed at an accelerated pace. Humans will build a space base on the Moon to prepare for exploration of our solar system's planets. Artificially intelligent robots will be involved in space exploration, assisting humans in their tasks. In the near future, self-replicating robots will appear and will evolve beyond humans' limits. These artificial life forms will gradually travel out into the galaxy. Moreover, new technology enabling us to go into different dimensions will be developed. Humans must become able to recognize the world beyond space and time. Eventually, the role of human beings will be finished. That will be the end of the Humanozoic era. This scenario may be the inevitable result of the strategy of life's evolution. Because in the future, the Earth will face more upheavals than ever before in its history. Centering on Asia, all continents will gather to form the supercontinent Amasia. Plants consume atmospheric CO2 to fix carbon in their bodies. Dead plants made of fixed carbon are covered by sediment. This process plays a role in reducing atmospheric CO2. The appearance of the supercontinent Amasia will lead to an increase in the land area that can fix carbon. More plants on a larger supercontinent reduce more atmospheric CO2. The amount of CO2 will decrease to 1/10 of the present level. The C4 plants, requiring higher concentrations of CO2, will go extinct. As a result, other animals that rely on the C4 plants for food will be affected. Seawater has been decreasing for the past 600 million years as it has been transported into the mantle in the form of hydrous minerals. Finally, mid-oceanic ridges form summits above the seawater. Water cannot be taken into the crust as a lubricant anymore, and plate tectonics is terminated. This is the fate of a cooling planet. Volcanic activity along the subduction zone stops. Upheaval of the mountains stops. The Earth suffers severe environmental changes due to erosion. Subducted cold plates do not go down to the bottom of the mantle. The outer core is not cooled down anymore, and the geomagnetic field disappears. Earth's atmosphere is removed by the solar wind. At this point in time, large multicellular animals living in the surface environment go extinct. When the ocean disappears, Animals that survived in the ocean will also die. Finally, all the Earth's life disappears. The heating up of the solar surface increases the Earth's surface temperature to 500 degrees Celsius. The Earth becomes a Venus-like planet. The Andromeda Galaxy collides with our Milky Way galaxy. Because of this collision, the birth rate of stars increases. With time, those stars undergo supernova explosions. Intense galactic cosmic rays rain on the Earth. The expanding sun will swallow the Earth. This is the day when the planet Earth, that gave birth to life, will disappear from the universe. By that time, the Earth's life will have reached other galaxies as self-replicating artificial life in a different form.
The idea of World Environment Day was born 50 years ago at the 1972 UN Conference on the Human Environment in Stockholm. It was born out of the understanding that we need to stand up to protect the air, the land, water on which we all depend. It was born out of an understanding that the power of people matters, and matters greatly. Today, as we look to a present and a future of heat waves, droughts, floods, wildfires, pandemics, dirty air, and plastic-ridden oceans, and yes, wars, action is more important than ever, and we're running against the clock. And this is on all of us. This means politicians who see beyond the election cycle to intergenerational wins. This means financial institutions that finance the planet. This means businesses that account for nature. This means a just and clean energy transition. This means people making smarter choices on what we eat, what we wear, and how we live. And this means cities where we can breathe. And this means legislators who protect the human right to a healthy environment. This movement that began in 1972 stands at a critical juncture today. It's now or never, because we are one people and we have only one earth. We have only one home, and that is worth standing up for.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all. My name is Natalia Alexeyeva and I'm the new coordinator of the UN Decade on Ecosystem Restoration. Happy to join you at this event and contribute with some messages from the Decade's family. I'm speaking to you today actually from Stockholm Plus 50. That's the biggest world celebration of the 50 years birthday of the Global Sustainable Development Movement. You know, our journey started here in Sweden in 1972. And if we look at the results from the positive side, of course, there are really big achievements to celebrate. For example, we eradicated the production of the related fuel. As a result, we avoided more than 1 million premature deaths. We protected over 38,000 species, and we managed to come together at the world to win the hole in the ozone layer. But if you follow the science and news today, you know that we have not yet done our job. And humanity continues to wage the war on nature. The latest Global Land Outlook report stated that up to 40% of the planet's land is degraded, directly affecting the half of humanity and threatening around half of global gross domestic product. We have passed already a critical junction in the fight against climate change. And now we need to do both, cut emissions and also bring back ecosystems, such as forests, peatlands, etc., to store additional carbon and to adapt them to the effects of climate change. The science and biodiversity is quite clear. 1 million species are at the risk of extinction. And sadly, we have crossed a line here too. Conservation efforts, while continuing to be vital, are not long enough, and we need to actively work on bringing back degraded or destroyed ecosystems. We need to protect what we have and to heal what we have damaged. It's a huge task, you know, and in fact it's almost like mission impossible, but it's possible, and that's possible only for the bigger family, and even though not the UN is not able to do it by itself. So it takes a movement, it takes all of you, and because you're the part of the generation restoration. We're the last generation that can make peace with nature and walk our talk. So that's why you may ask yourself, what can you do to support the movement and be a part of this? And here's some good news. There are countless ways to contribute to the global restoration movement, and it starts where you are. Do you know your ecosystems where you live in? City, agricultural area, rivers, coastlines, mangroves. Ask yourself, your neighbors, friends, relatives, how these ecosystems changed over the last decades. Are there things you can do to revive? How you can contribute? And then you get active, and then you could always join the groups and others around you to contribute. But of course, not everyone may have the access to the knowledge and resources to start restoration themselves, and that's also fine. In fact, we have an even bigger impact on the world's ecosystems through our food system and financial systems. So it does not stop at your doorstep either. You can support restoration efforts across the world in the ecosystems you take care about. Maybe rainforest, coral reefs, wild savannas or grasslands. So they're waiting for you. And of course, while individual efforts are important, we need transformative changes at all levels. So, for example, for the governments, they've been committing to restore over 1 billion hectares as part of their global climate and biodiversity commitments and promises. So that's an area greater than China. And yes, these goals to be reached and to be implemented. And the same also, for example, if I'm looking from other side, like investments, we know that the investments into restoration are on the rise, with major funds being announced at every opportunity. But the truth is that studies show we are far from the level of investment what is needed. We need to actually triple investment in nature, from currently 133 billion to over 339 billion. And new policy and finance are not enough either. So we need to reduce those which are causing harm right now. So we need to stop something which is killing our ecosystems. And the way we farm, for example, is a major driver of biodiversity loss. So we need urgently diversify our food systems, transform them, and to produce more sustainable and safer food for everyone, especially in the times of crisis. So on this occasion of the World Environment Day, I encourage you to get active and go to decade-on-restoration.org to learn more about ecosystem restoration and what you can do to protect and heal our beautiful planet. We're all together in this movement, and we're all together in this beautiful home, our Earth. So we need to take it for our kids and younger generation to thrive and enjoy. We're all together. Hoping on your action. Thank you.
What's gone is gone. Let's move on. Let's move on. What's gone, it's gone. Let's move on. Let's move on. The forest turned into concrete. It's green then complete. The mountainside, the lake beside, the blue river in the folklore. Let us store them all as above, and together we can, together we can. What's gone is gone. Let's move on, let's move on. What's gone, it's gone. Let's move on, let's move on. The mighty ocean, desert sand, the charm of the grassy field. Revive them now, revive them now, is a call of the wild. Is a call of the wild. And together we will, together we will. The truthful little canary, the break come to us daily. We will do it together. We will do it together. Together we will. Together we will. What's gone is gone. Let's move on. Let's move on. What's gone, it's gone. Let's move on. Let's move on. It's gone, let's move on. What we still have, let's blind on. We can make peace with nature. The generation really can. Act now, and together we can. Together we can. And together we will. Together we will.
First of all, I would like to thank ma'am for that wonderful introduction. Our lungs are burning, our kidneys are drying up, and our heart is melting. Our environment continues to change, as we stubbornly refused to. When I was 6 years old, I planted my first ever sapling. That first ever sapling was planted under an international environment program. Now that sapling, I was very happy on that glorious day, busily digging my little fingers into the soil to plant that sapling for a better tomorrow, for a tomorrow. Little did I know that the same part, at the same time, a large part of the humanity was digging too for the climate crisis of tomorrow. Today I turned 15 and I know my plant which I planted is going to take a long time to be a tree. I know I have an enormous responsibility to take my voice to a strong action. I know I have to sacrifice my childhood, my teen years, my youth, if only I want to save my generation from a certain doom and a certain extinction. I have always loved to read, write, and I maintain a blog. And the stories that I have read, they've always portrayed nature to be this beautiful, wonderful thing. Like, it's the most beautiful thing. I grew up this big, believing that life is so beautiful and life is going to stay beautiful always. But now that I read and watch stories, I find the disaster that is upon us. I find the unfolding climate crisis that is upon us. It is funny to think that I always thought that life is going to be beautiful, because now it is just so colorless. Life is so grey. Isn't life supposed to be exciting, colorful? Who's with me here? Isn't life supposed to be colorful? Isn't life supposed to be exciting? But we are living in a world which is colorless, which is grey, which is so grey, and we have forgotten that the world is so grey. I often wonder, what can I do as an individual to change the world? I've always thought that changing the world is very difficult because convincing people is so difficult. And I don't know what exactly to do to change the world. But now when I was researching for my talk and when I was thinking about it, I finally got my solution. You must have heard a lot of times that you should plant lots of trees, especially it's my birthday today, so you should plant saplings on your birthday, and you should cut down on your waste, you should reduce your fossil fuel, and blah blah blah. Lots of measures. If you see and if you realize, these measures are really small. And because these measures are so small, it is funny that we think that we are compromising on our lifestyles while doing these measures. So the contradiction between what it is and what it could be, it troubles me so much. And I'm happy to be saying this because I need all of us to act right now. The measures are so simple, the measures are so tiny, and all these measures are going to take place someday, obviously. But when? That is the main question. I know the actions will not happen. I know the actions will not happen easily enough. I'll tell you why. We are like the scattering trees of a storm-swept plain. We are like the scattered pieces of a puzzle. We are disconnected from ourselves and we are disconnected with both our natures. What I mean to say here is that we are disconnected from the nature that brings us to life, and we are disconnected from the nature that nourishes and nurtures us. We are so disconnected that we have doomed ourselves to live in this world, to live in this colorless world, to live in this world which we think was beautiful and isn't beautiful anymore. If I were to ask all of you today, and if you had to answer honestly and correctly, that how connected you are today with yourself and with both of our natures, a doomed world would emerge and all of us will have sad faces. Because the answer is clearly no. We are not connected at all. We are just not connected, and when we want to change something, we need to be connected within. Voices can be made into environmental actions only if we change within first and without later. The actions are so simple, but we need to re-establish our links. We are the generation that hides behind last seen turned off and deactivated accounts, which clearly shows that we are honestly disconnected with ourselves and we are honestly and properly disconnected with both our natures. When we are born into this life, we are only physically disconnected with our mother. But a more solid, a more powerful, a more action connection is made with the mother, which gives us life. But as we grow old, we often tend to think from our heads. We move from our hearts to heads, and that's where the problem starts. We stop thinking, we start overthinking rather, we start destroying links, and blatant exploitation begins, and so does the journey to our extinction. The youth often claims, and because I'm the youth too, so we often claim that we haven't done anything. We have just inherited this climate, we have just inherited this world. I have no counterclaim for that, because for a certain time even I thought that why should I do anything? I like my voice, I can speak, but why should I plant trees? Why should I do anything? Why should I connect the puzzles to the pieces? Why should I be the only one in my school to connect? But I realized that it's not just me who's going to be affected. The generation after me is going to be affected too. I realized that we are not going to be selfish. I take it the generation before us did not have the proper means or did not even know the consequences of what their actions were. They ran blindly away from prosperity and development. They were just trying to make a future for the generation next. And even if they had any clue, I am pretty sure they had no resources or no voice like the youth does today. We are just going to be next dinosaurs if we do not act right now. At a pretty early age, I don't remember exactly, I came across this word that was sustainable development. Yes, you heard that very right. We hear that every day from our climate activists, we hear that every day in our school assemblies also when you say 17 SDG goals and how many are we following? So that at that time, I've heard it so many times, and as ma'am had already mentioned, I have been to a lot of events. So I hear that word every time. I searched all websites, I searched the UN sites, I searched everywhere, but I could not find a definition which satisfied me. I could not find the meaning which satisfied me, and it troubled me the most. I was constantly asking questions to my mother, and my mother once said to me that, Pavni, please Google. I do not know, I do not have the answer to what you want to know. I do not have the answer to satisfy you. So I went, I searched Google, still did not satisfy, but then one day I came across this very, very good line. So now for me it means EESC, that is environmental, economic, social and cultural well-being for today and for tomorrow. I want to believe that there is a tomorrow for me. I want every one of us to believe that there is going to be a happy tomorrow for me and not just a wally world. I want every one of us to believe that we can change. At our organization ACNA, we together connect ourselves to restore the only living planet we have. I am the generation that can make peace with nature. When I was traveling, I saw three things. I saw people, I saw nature, and I saw technology. When you combine all these three, what do you get? You get a life more beautiful. So let's act now, because every small act matters. Thank you.
Sri Lankan traditional dance is a mirror that reflects the Sri Lankan culture. The main costume of the Kandyan dance troupe, which was started by the King Malaya, is a West Anduma. Only men wear this costume and women wear paingpat. Now, Rangani Saditma, a student of Asian Grammar School, will be presenting the traditional Kandyan dance wearing the paingpat. She will be accompanied by the student Lithira Buanaka playing the gattabere, an instrument of the Kandyan dance tradition.